There is a kind of music that comes from the heart, where the best stage is a porch or the shade of a tree. Often improvised and spontaneous, it's a sound from the past, using songs and instruments as old as the oak trees they serenade.
It's a lot more than music. I've got friends I'm not exaggerating when I say from 7 to 70. People that otherwise I would have never met, never been friends with, and the music brings us all together, and we're just one big family. We celebrate birthdays, anniversaries. I'm having a baby, and we're going to have a big baby shower with all the bluegrass folks are going to be there. We're going to pick some music, and it is definitely a big family. And I'm so glad for the people that I've met that otherwise I wouldn't have met.
It's a real music, you know. Now things are, I mean, the songs used to be all about mother and dad and a little cabin on the hill and that sort of thing. And I think there's still a part of, there's still a part of society that you know is kind of nostalgic for that sort of song.
From the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains emerged a unique style of music that is more about participating than watching. These musicians are unplugged, distilling their sounds into a purity that is best enjoyed in person. And come they do, from all over Southwest Florida, to monthly concerts at the Lee Civic Center in North Fort Myers, sponsored by the Acoustic Music Society of Southwest Florida.
Live music is just, I mean, using all your senses. You're not just using your ears. You know, you're getting a sense of how their postures are and how their movements are and how their facial expressions are and the accents that go with body movement with the music. And also who you're with. You're with your friends. There are people up there that are sitting there reading right now, and they have friends next to them, and they're just leaning over and talking and relaxing. It's the afternoon. It's a perfect afternoon for these folks.
Bluegrass can trace its roots to Irish, Scottish, and English folk music that came to America with the Jamestown settlers in the 1600s. After disappearing into the isolated foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains for centuries, the phonograph and radio helped spread these ancient melodies, now with African influences, throughout America and beyond. The name Bluegrass comes from Bill Monroe and the Bluegrass Boys, who came from the Bluegrass state of Kentucky. After appearing at the Grand Ole Opry in 1939, their distinctive harmonies and hard driving, sometimes fierce, rhythms created a new genre built mainly around 5 instruments: guitar, banjo, mandolin, fiddle, and bass.
What you get, you mix it live right there on stage. And that's the way to do it. I mean, you're hearing what we want you to hear. You're not hearing someone else's idea of what we should sound like. If you got to use a microphone, ideally, old school Grand Ole Opry style. One big microphone, getting a circle around it, and you move in, you move out, and you work the mic. And it adds a lot to the show. You'll get somebody's got to come in here, so you've got to lift up, and they'll duck under and get into the mic, and that adds a lot to it. I mean, it's fun to watch, and it's fun to do.
Bobby Martin has been picking for 25 years and currently plays with generations of Lakeland, Florida. He calls bluegrass a family affair that depends on a sometimes reluctant passing of the heritage along to the children.
My father had a Monkey Ward banjo. I think it was Monkey Ward or Sears, and had it in the closet, told me not to touch it. And every time he went out, of course, I picked it up and messed around with it. And pretty soon I got better than him. And I let him know. He wasn't happy, but he sent me to see Bill Gokey, and he taught me how to pick. About 4 years I had to play on that one. It wasn't very good, but it's like swinging 3 bats before you go up to plates, you know. When you finally get a good one, I can play it that much better.
I've been singing bluegrass for 2 years, but I've been around it all of my life. Before, I just didn't know how, and then I kind of got bored of just watching other people do it, so I decided it was time to start playing myself.
17-year-old Katie Rogers is a 4th-generation bluegrass musician who plays and sings with her father and mother, also in generations. Her dad, LaRon, learned to pick from his dad, Buddy, who in turn learned from his mother, Granny Rogers. Katie enjoys the time spent with her family performing around Florida, as well as typical teenager pursuits like shopping and video games.
I do all that too. Yeah, like when I tell people at school about this stuff, they're like, what are you talking about? And why do you do all that stuff? And I don't know, it's kind of like makes me unique. It's like having another family, and like, because when you go to each one of these things, you'll see people that you know from before, and it's like having more, I mean, you recognize people and have a bunch of friends.
Now, as far as social dynamics, I mean, it's of course a great way for people to share and have fun with each other. On a social level and for having fun, I enjoy those jam sessions. But but I'm a professional, so when I get on stage, I want it to be, and I need it to be right.
In bluegrass circles, Jack Lawrence is a living legend. He travels around the world, has recorded dozens of records and CDs, and has played with some of the best in the business, including partnering for the last 20 years with Doc Martin, a 7-time Grammy winner who received a Lifetime Achievement Award at the 2004 Grammy Awards show. In addition to playing concerts, he gives tips to budding pickers, an important tradition in bluegrass.
Mostly, my dad played a little guitar, my mother's father played a little guitar. But where I learned a lot was from my dad's weekend job, which was a sound tech at a music hall, where I was able to see all the bluegrass greats, from Bill Monroe to the Stanley Brothers to the Country Gentlemen, and all the country acts from Jerry Lee Lewis to Ernest Tubb, Marty Robbins, Buck Owens. So I was there with him every weekend, and so I learned a lot about music and musicians by hanging around backstage.
They keep their instruments handy, for they never know when they'll meet a fellow picker. All it takes is a few strums on a banjo to trigger another jam session for all to enjoy.
There are places in the country where you go where if you go over to a friend's house, you bring your instrument. And that's just the way it is. You just go and bring your instrument and everybody's playing. So we'll have parties and there'll be 15, 20 musicians there playing, and then half of them drop out and they're talking, having fun over in the corner, and then they pick up their instrument, come on back and play again.